Ready to transform your struggles into strength? Watch this video to discover how Nietzsche's philosophy can help you embrace suffering and achieve greatness. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the Crit Wisdom for more life-changing insights. Nietzsche's life and context. Friedrich Nietzsche, 1844 to 1900, was a German philosopher whose work has had a profound impact on modern thought. Born in Rocken, Prussia, Nietzsche experienced significant suffering throughout his life, including chronic illness, isolation, and eventual mental collapse. His personal struggles deeply influenced his philosophy, particularly his views on suffering and its role in human development. Nietzsche rejected traditional religious and moral frameworks, arguing that suffering is not something to be avoided, but embraced as a necessary part of growth and self-overcoming. The concept of suffering in Nietzsche's philosophy. Nietzsche's philosophy revolves around the idea that suffering is an essential component of human existence. Unlike many religious or philosophical traditions that view suffering as a punishment or a flaw in the world, Nietzsche saw it as a catalyst for transformation. He believed that suffering forces individuals to confront their limitations, question their values, and ultimately transcend them. This process of self-overcoming is central to Nietzsche's vision of greatness. Amor fati, loving one's fate. One of Nietzsche's most famous concepts is amor fati, or love of fate. This idea encourages individuals to embrace every aspect of their lives, including suffering, as necessary and meaningful. Nietzsche argued that by accepting and even loving their fate, individuals can transform their suffering into a source of strength and creativity. This radical acceptance is not passivity. Eternal recurrence. Another key concept in Nietzsche's philosophy is the idea of eternal recurrence. He proposed that life is a cyclical process in which every moment, including moments of suffering, will repeat infinitely. Nietzsche used this thought experiment to challenge individuals to live their lives in such a way that they would willingly relive every moment, no matter how painful. This idea underscores the importance of finding meaning and purpose in suffering. The Übermensch, Overman. Nietzsche's concept of the Übermensch, or Overman, represents the ideal of human potential. The Übermensch is someone who has overcome societal norms, embraced their individuality, and transformed their suffering into a source of creativity and power. Nietzsche believed that the path to becoming an Übermensch requires enduring and transcending suffering, as it is through struggle that individuals develop the strength and resilience needed to achieve greatness. Suffering and greatness in historical context. Throughout history, many great individuals have attributed their success to the hardships they endured. Nietzsche's philosophy provides a framework for understanding this phenomenon. By examining the lives of figures such as Beethoven, who composed masterpieces despite deafness, or Mandela, who emerged from decades of imprisonment to lead a nation, we can see how suffering can serve as a crucible for greatness. Nietzsche's ideas offer a way to reinterpret suffering not as a curse, but as an opportunity for growth. Nietzsche's critique of traditional morality. Nietzsche was highly critical of traditional moral systems, particularly Christianity, which he believed promoted a slave morality that discouraged individuals from embracing their full potential. He argued that these systems often pathologize suffering, teaching people to view it as a sign of weakness or sin. In contrast, Nietzsche advocated for a master morality that celebrates strength, creativity, and the will to power. This shift in perspective allows individuals to see suffering as a necessary part of the journey toward greatness. The role of suffering in Nietzsche's works. Nietzsche's major works, including Thus Spoke Zarathustra, Beyond Good and Evil and the Genealogy of Morals explore the theme of suffering in depth. In Thus Spoke Zarathustra, the protagonist undergoes a series of trials and transformations, embodying Nietzsche's ideal of self-overcoming. Beyond Good and Evil challenges traditional moral dichotomies, while the Genealogy of Morals traces the historical development of moral values and their relationship to suffering. These works collectively present a vision of human existence in which suffering is not only inevitable but essential for achieving greatness. Modern interpretations of Nietzsche's philosophy. Nietzsche's ideas about suffering and greatness continue to resonate in contemporary thought. Psychologists, philosophers, and self-help authors have drawn on his work to develop frameworks for understanding resilience, creativity, and personal growth. For example, Viktor Frankl's logotherapy, which emphasizes finding meaning in suffering, echoes Nietzsche's concept of amor fati. Similarly, the modern emphasis on grit and perseverance can be seen as a reflection of Nietzsche's belief in the transformative power of struggle. The enduring relevance of Nietzsche's philosophy. Nietzsche's philosophy offers a radical and empowering perspective on suffering. By reframing suffering as a necessary and meaningful part of life, Nietzsche challenges individuals to embrace their struggles and use them as a catalyst for growth. His ideas about amor fati, eternal recurrence, and the Übermensch provide a roadmap for achieving greatness in the face of adversity. As we explore the remaining segments of this topic, we will delve deeper into these concepts and their practical applications, demonstrating how Nietzsche's philosophy can inspire us to transform suffering into a source of strength and creativity. Nietzsche's childhood and early struggles. Friedrich Nietzsche was born on October 15, 1844, in Raaken, Prussia. His early life was marked by tragedy and hardship. His father, a Lutheran pastor, died when Nietzsche was just 5 years old, leaving the family in emotional and financial distress. This early loss had a profound impact on Nietzsche, instilling in him a sense of vulnerability and a deep awareness of life's fragility. These experiences planted the seeds for his later philosophical explorations of suffering and resilience, illness and physical suffering. Throughout his life, Nietzsche battled chronic health issues, including severe migraines, vision problems, and digestive disorders. These ailments often left him bedridden and unable to work for extended periods. Despite his physical suffering, Nietzsche continued to write and develop his ideas, demonstrating remarkable perseverance. His personal struggles with illness likely influenced his belief that suffering is not an obstacle of greatness, but a necessary part of the journey. Isolation and loneliness. Nietzsche's intellectual pursuits and unconventional ideas often left him isolated from his peers. After a brief but brilliant academic career, he resigned from his position as a professor at the University of Basel due to his declining health and growing disillusionment with academia. This period of isolation allowed Nietzsche to delve deeply into his philosophical work, but it also intensified his sense of loneliness. His experience of being an outsider shaped his views on individuality and the importance of forging one's own path. Even in the face of adversity, the influence of Schopenhauer. During his university years, Nietzsche was deeply influenced by the works of Arthur Schopenhauer, a philosopher who viewed suffering as an inherent part of existence. Schopenhauer's pessimistic outlook resonated with Nietzsche's own experiences, but Nietzsche eventually moved beyond Schopenhauer's resignation to suffering. Instead, he developed a more affirmative philosophy that embraced suffering as a means of achieving greatness. This shift marked a turning point in Nietzsche's intellectual development. The impact of Wagner and the breakdown of friendship. Nietzsche's friendship with the composer Richard Wagner was another significant influence on his early life. Wagner's music and ideas initially inspired Nietzsche, but their relationship eventually soured due to philosophical differences. The breakdown of this friendship was a source of deep personal pain for Nietzsche, but also pushed him to develop his own unique philosophical voice. This experience reinforced his belief that suffering and conflict are essential for intellectual and creative growth. Nietzsche's mental collapse. In 1889, Nietzsche suffered a mental breakdown from which he never recovered. The exact cause of his collapse remains a subject of debate, but it is widely believed that his lifelong struggles with illness and isolation played a role. Despite the tragic end to his productive years, Nietzsche's earlier works continue to inspire and challenge readers. His mental collapse serves as a poignant reminder of the toll that suffering can take, even on those who seek to transcend it. Suffering as a source of creativity. Nietzsche's personal experiences with suffering deeply influence his creative output. His works are filled with vivid imagery and passionate arguments that reflect his own struggles. For example, in Thus Spoke Zarathustra, Nietzsche uses a metaphor of a camel, lion, and child to describe the process of self-transformation. This metaphor can be seen as a reflection of Nietzsche's own journey through suffering, rebellion, and eventual renewal. His ability to channel his pain into profound philosophical insights demonstrates the transformative power of suffering. The role of suffering in Nietzsche's ethical framework. Nietzsche's early experiences with suffering also shaped his ethical framework. He rejected traditional moral systems that sought to eliminate or mitigate suffering, arguing that such systems stifle human potential. Instead, Nietzsche advocated for an ethics of self-overcoming, in which individuals embrace their suffering as a means of achieving greatness. This perspective challenges us to rethink our relationship with pain and adversity, viewing them not as enemies but as allies in the pursuit of excellence. Nietzsche's legacy, turning suffering into strength. Nietzsche's life and work demonstrate that suffering, while painful, can be a powerful catalyst for growth and creativity. His ability to transform his own struggles into profound philosophical insights has inspired countless individuals to confront their own challenges with courage and resilience. By embracing suffering as a necessary part of the human experience, Nietzsche offers a path to greatness that is both demanding and deeply rewarding. The personal roots of Nietzsche's philosophy. Nietzsche's early life was marked by profound suffering, but it was his very suffering that shaped his philosophical outlook and fueled his creative genius. His personal experiences with loss, illness, isolation, and conflict provided the raw material for his ideas about self-overcoming, a more fatty and the Übermensch. As we explore the remaining segments of this topic, we will see how Nietzsche's philosophy offers a powerful framework for understanding the role of suffering in the pursuit of greatness. Introduction to the Übermensch. The Übermensch, or Overman, is one of Nietzsche's most famous and controversial concepts. Introduced in Thus Spoke Zarathustra, the Übermensch represents an ideal of human excellence and self-mastery. Nietzsche envisioned the Übermensch as someone who has transcended the limitations of conventional morality and societal expectations, creating their own values and embracing their individuality. The path to becoming an Übermensch is fraught with suffering, but it is through the struggle that greatness is achieved. The Übermensch as a response to nihilism. Nietzsche's concept of the Übermensch emerged in response to what he saw as the crisis of nihilism in modern society. Nihilism, the belief that life has no inherent meaning, was a growing concern for Nietzsche. He believed that traditional religious and moral systems had failed to provide a meaningful framework for existence, leaving individuals adrift in a sea of uncertainty. The Übermensch represents a way out of this nihilistic despair by creating meaning through self-overcoming and the affirmation of life. The three metamorphoses, camel, lion, and child. In Thus Spoke Zarathustra, Nietzsche described the journey toward becoming an Übermensch through the metaphor of three metamorphoses: the camel, the lion, and the child. The camel represents a burden-bearing stage, where individuals accept the weight of societal expectations and traditional values. The lion symbolizes rebellion, where individuals reject these external impositions and assert their own will. Finally, the child represents a state of innocence and creativity, where individuals create their own values and embrace life with a sense of wonder and possibility. This process of transformation is essential for achieving the state of the Übermensch, self-overcoming and the will to power. Central to the concept of the Übermensch is the idea of self-overcoming, or the continual process of surpassing one's limitations. Nietzsche believed that the driving force behind self-overcoming is the will to power, an innate desire to grow, create, and assert oneself. The Übermensch embodies this will to power, using suffering and adversity as fuel for personal growth and transformation. By embracing challenges and pushing beyond their comfort zones, individuals can move closer to the ideal of the Übermensch. The Übermensch and individuality. The Übermensch is not a universal ideal, but a deeply personal one. Nietzsche emphasized the importance of individuality and self-creation, arguing that each person must find their own path to greatness. The Übermensch does not conform to societal norms or external expectations, but instead creates their own values and lives authentically. This emphasis on individuality challenges us to question the values we have inherited and to forge our own unique identities. The role of suffering in becoming the Übermensch. Suffering plays a crucial role in the journey toward becoming an Übermensch. Nietzsche believed that suffering is not something to be avoided, but embraced as a necessary part of growth. Through suffering, individuals are forced to confront their limitations, question their assumptions, and develop the strength and resilience needed to transcend them. The Übermensch does not seek to eliminate suffering, but to transform it into a source of power and creativity. The Übermensch in historical and cultural context. Nietzsche's concept of the Übermensch has been interpreted in various ways throughout history. Some have seen it as a call to embrace individualism and reject conformity, while others have criticized it as promoting elitism or even authoritarianism. In popular culture, the Übermensch has been associated with figures such as superheroes, revolutionary leaders, and visionary artists. These interpretations reflect the enduring appeal of Nietzsche's idea that greatness is achieved through struggle and self-transformation. Critiques and misinterpretations of the Übermensch. The concept of the Übermensch has been subject to numerous critiques and misinterpretations. Some have accused Nietzsche of promoting a form of elitism that justifies the domination of the weak by the strong. Others have argued that the Übermensch is an unrealistic ideal that ignores the social and communal aspects of human existence. Nietzsche himself warned against simplistic interpretations of his ideas, emphasizing that the Übermensch is not a fixed ideal, but a dynamic process of self-creation and growth. The Übermensch in modern self-help. Nietzsche's concept of the Übermensch has found resonance in modern self-help and personal development movements. The idea of self-overcoming and the will to power aligns with contemporary emphasis on resilience, grit, and personal growth. Books and programs that encourage individuals to embrace challenges, take risks, and create their own values can be seen as modern iterations of Nietzsche's philosophy. The Übermensch serves as a powerful symbol of what individuals can achieve when they confront their fears and push beyond their limits. The enduring appeal of the Übermensch. Nietzsche's concept of the Übermensch continues to inspire and challenge us to rethink our assumptions about greatness and human potential. By embracing suffering, rejecting conformity, and creating our own values, we can move closer to the ideal of the Übermensch. This journey is not easy, but it is deeply rewarding, offering a path to a more authentic and fulfilling life. As we explore the remaining segments of this topic, we will see how Nietzsche's ideas about the Übermensch intersect with his broader philosophy of suffering and greatness. Nietzsche's view on creativity and suffering. Nietzsche believed that suffering is not merely a destructive force, but a vital source of creativity. He argued that great art, literature, and philosophy often emerge in the depths of personal struggle. For Nietzsche, creativity is not a product of comfort or complacency, but of tension, conflict, and the relentless pursuit of meaning. This perspective challenges a romanticized notion of the tortured artist by framing suffering as an essential and purposeful part of the creative process. The relationship between pain and inspiration. Nietzsche often described creativity as a form of giving birth, a process that involves both pain and joy. He believed that suffering forces individuals to confront their innermost fears, desires, and contradictions, creating the raw material for artistic and intellectual expression. In this sense, pain is not an obstacle to creativity, but its very foundation. Nietzsche's own works, written in the midst of physical and emotional turmoil, exemplify this dynamic relationship between suffering and inspiration, the role of struggle in artistic mastery. Nietzsche emphasized that mastery in any creative endeavor requires struggle, whether it is a musician practicing for hours, the writer revising countless drafts, or the philosopher grappling with complex ideas. The path to excellence is paved with effort and perseverance. Nietzsche saw the struggle as a form of self-overcoming, where individuals push beyond their limitations to achieve something extraordinary. The creative process, therefore, is not just about producing art, but about transforming oneself in the process. Historical examples of suffering and creativity. Throughout history, many of the greatest artists, writers, and thinkers have drawn inspiration from their suffering. Beethoven, for example, composed some of his most profound works while grappling with deafness. Frida Kahlo channeled her physical pain and emotional turmoil into powerful self-portraits that continue to resonate with audiences. Nietzsche himself used his struggles with illness and isolation to develop groundbreaking philosophical ideas. These examples illustrate how suffering can serve as a crucible for creativity, pushing individuals to explore new depths of expression and insight. Nietzsche's concept of the Dionysian. Nietzsche's philosophy of creativity is deeply influenced by his concept of the Dionysian, which represents chaos, passion, and the dissolution of boundaries. In contrast to the Apollonian, which symbolizes order and rationality, the Dionysian embraces the irrational and chaotic as sources of creative energy. Nietzsche believed that true creativity arises from a tension between these two forces, with suffering acting as a catalyst for the Dionysian impulse. This perspective highlights the transformative power of embracing life's contradictions and uncertainties. Creativity as a form of resistance. For Nietzsche, creativity is also a form of resistance against the forces of conformity and mediocrity. He saw the creative individual as a rebel who challenges societal norms and asserts their own unique vision. This act of resistance often involves suffering, as the creator must confront criticism, rejection, and self-doubt. However, Nietzsche believed that the struggle is necessary for producing work that is truly original and meaningful. In this sense, creativity is not just an aesthetic pursuit, but a moral and existential one. The transformative power of art. Nietzsche believed that art has the power to transform both the creator and the audience. Through the creative process, individuals can confront their suffering and give it meaning, turning pain into beauty and chaos into order. For the audience, art offers a glimpse into the depths of human experience, providing solace, inspiration, and a sense of connection. Nietzsche saw this transformative power as essential for overcoming nihilism and affirming the value of life. The role of the artist-philosopher. Nietzsche often blurred the line between philosophy and art, viewing the philosopher as a kind of artist who creates new values and perspectives. He believed that the artist-philosopher has a unique ability to communicate profound truths through metaphor, imagery, and narrative. This approach challenges the traditional distinction between reason and emotion, suggesting that creativity is essential for philosophical insight. Nietzsche's own writing style, with its poetic language and vivid imagery, reflects this fusion of art and philosophy. Modern applications of Nietzsche's ideas. Nietzsche's ideas about suffering and creativity continue to resonate in contemporary art and culture. Many modern artists, writers, and musicians draw on their personal struggles to create work that is deeply authentic and impactful. The growing emphasis on mental health and self-expression in creative fields reflects Nietzsche's belief in the transformative power of suffering. Additionally, the rise of digital media and new forms of artistic expression has expanded the possibilities for creative resistance and self-overcoming, embracing suffering as a creative force. Nietzsche's philosophy offers a powerful framework for understanding the relationship between suffering and creativity. By reframing suffering as a catalyst for growth and expression, Nietzsche challenges us to embrace our struggles and use them as a source of inspiration. Whether through art, literature, or philosophy, the creative process allows us to transform pain into meaning and chaos into beauty. As we explore the remaining segments of this topic, we will see how Nietzsche's ideas about creativity intersect with his broader philosophy of suffering and greatness. Nietzsche's rejection of Christian morality. Nietzsche's critique of traditional morality is most famously directed at Christianity, which he saw as promoting a slave morality that values humility, meekness, and self-denial. He argued that Christian morality originated as a reaction to the oppression of the weak by the strong, turning virtues like suffering and poverty into moral ideals. Nietzsche believed that this inversion of values stifles human potential by discouraging individuals from embracing their strength, creativity, and individuality. The genealogy of morals. On the genealogy of morals, Nietzsche traces the historical development of moral values, arguing that they are not universal or timeless, but shaped by power dynamics and social conditions. He distinguishes between master morality, which celebrates strength, nobility, and self-affirmation, and slave morality, which values compassion, humility, and obedience. Nietzsche saw slave morality as a form of psychological revenge by the weak against the strong, perpetuating a culture of resentment and mediocrity. The concept of raisonnement. Central to Nietzsche's critique of traditional morality is the concept of raisonnement, a French term meaning resentment or bitterness. Nietzsche argued that slave morality arises from the raisonnement of the oppressed, who are unable to assert their will to power directly. Instead, they create a moral system that demonizes the qualities of the strong, e.g., pride, ambition, and glorifies the qualities of the weak, e.g., humility, meekness. This inversion of values allows the weak to feel morally superior, while suppressing potential for greatness. The death of God and the collapse of traditional morality. Nietzsche's proclamation that God is dead is often misunderstood as a celebration of atheism. In reality, it is a diagnosis of the cultural and moral crisis of modernity. Nietzsche believed that the decline of religious belief would lead to the collapse of traditional moral systems, leaving individuals adrift in a sea of nihilism. While he saw this as an opportunity for the creation of new values, he also recognized the dangers of society without a coherent moral framework. The revaluation of values. In response to the collapse of traditional morality, Nietzsche called for a revaluation of all values. This project involves questioning the moral assumptions we have inherited and creating new values that affirm life, strength, and creativity. Nietzsche believed that this revaluation is essential for overcoming nihilism and achieving greatness. The Übermensch, as the creator of new values, embodies this radical rethinking of morality. Nietzsche's alternative vision of morality. Nietzsche's alternative to traditional morality is rooted in his concept of the will to power, which he saw as the driving force behind all human behavior. He argued that morality should celebrate strength, creativity, and self-overcoming rather than suppressing them. This does not mean advocating for cruelty or domination, but recognizing that suffering and struggle are necessary for growth and excellence. Nietzsche's morality is not a set of fixed rules, but a dynamic process of self-creation and affirmation. The role of suffering in Nietzsche's moral framework. Nietzsche's critique of traditional morality is closely tied to his view of suffering. He rejected the idea that suffering is inherently evil or something to be eliminated. Instead, he saw suffering as a necessary part of life that can lead to growth, creativity, and self-transcendence. Traditional moral systems, by pathologizing suffering, deny individuals the opportunity to develop their full potential. Nietzsche's morality, in contrast, embraces suffering as a catalyst for greatness. Critiques and misinterpretations of Nietzsche's moral philosophy. Nietzsche's critique of traditional morality has been subject to numerous critiques and misinterpretations. Some have accused him of promoting a form of moral relativism or nihilism, while others have seen his philosophy as a justification for authoritarianism or social Darwinism. Nietzsche himself rejected these interpretations, emphasizing that his goal was not to destroy morality, but to create a new, life-affirming morality that celebrates human potential. Nietzsche's influence on modern moral philosophy. Nietzsche's critique of traditional morality has had a profound impact on modern moral philosophy, influencing thinkers such as Michel Foucault, Jacques Derrida, and Alasdair MacIntyre. His emphasis on the historical and cultural contingency of moral values has challenged the notion of universal ethics, while his call for a revaluation of values has inspired new approaches to moral reasoning. Nietzsche's ideas continue to provoke debate and reflection on the nature of morality and its role in human life. Beyond good and evil. Nietzsche's critique of traditional morality is not a rejection of morality itself, but a call to move beyond good and evil to a more nuanced and life-affirming ethical framework. By challenging the values we have inherited and embracing suffering as a catalyst for growth, Nietzsche offers a path to a more authentic and fulfilling existence. As we explore the remaining segments of this topic, we will see how Nietzsche's critique of morality intersects with his broader philosophy of suffering and greatness. Introduction to Eternal Recurrence. The eternal recurrence is one of Nietzsche's most enigmatic and thought-provoking ideas. It proposes that every moment of our lives will repeat infinitely, exactly as it has occurred for all eternity. Nietzsche introduces this concept in Thus Spoke Zarathustra as a test of one's ability to affirm life in its entirety. The eternal recurrence challenges us to live in such a way that we would willingly relive every moment, no matter how painful or difficult. The eternal recurrence as a thought experiment. Nietzsche intended the eternal recurrence not as a literal cosmological theory, but as a philosophical thought experiment. It forces us to confront the question: if you had to live your life over and over again, exactly the same, would you despair or rejoice? This question serves as a litmus test for how fully we have embraced our lives and our choices. It pushes us to live authentically and intentionally, knowing that every action and decision will be eternally repeated. The psychological impact of eternal recurrence. The idea of eternal recurrence can be both terrifying and liberating. On one hand, it confronts us with the weight of our actions and the inevitability of suffering. On the other hand, it offers an opportunity to transform our perspective on life. By embracing the eternal recurrence, we can find meaning in even the most difficult moments, seeing them as necessary parts of a larger, eternal pattern. This shift in perspective can lead to a profound sense of purpose and resilience. Amor fati, loving one's fate. Closely related to the eternal recurrence is Nietzsche's concept of amor fati, or love of fate. This idea encourages us to embrace everything that happens in our lives, the good, the bad, and the indifferent, as necessary and meaningful. Nietzsche saw amor fati as the ultimate expression of life affirmation, a way of saying yes to existence in its entirety. By loving our fate, we transform suffering into a source of strength and creativity. The relationship between eternal recurrence and amor fati. The eternal recurrence and amor fati are deeply interconnected. The eternal recurrence challenges us to live in such a way that we can affirm every moment, while amor fati provides the emotional and philosophical framework for doing so. Together, they form a powerful philosophy of resilience and affirmation, encouraging us to embrace life's challenges and find meaning in our struggles. Historical and cultural examples of amor fati. The idea of loving one's fate has resonated throughout history and across cultures. The Stoic philosophers, for example, advocated for a similar attitude of acceptance and resilience. In modern times, figures like Viktor Frankl, who survived the Holocaust and developed logotherapy, have drawn on Nietzsche's ideas to emphasize the importance of finding meaning in suffering. These examples illustrate the enduring relevance of amor fati as a philosophy of resilience and affirmation. The role of suffering in amor fati. Suffering plays a central role in Nietzsche's concept of amor fati. He believed that suffering is not something to be avoided or eliminated, but embraced as a necessary part of life. By accepting and even loving our suffering, we can transform it into a source of strength and creativity. This perspective challenges us to rethink our relationship with pain and adversity, seeing them not as enemies, but as allies in pursuit of greatness. The eternal recurrence in modern thought. Nietzsche's idea of eternal recurrence has influenced a wide range of thinkers and disciplines, from existentialist philosophy to literature and psychology. Writers like Albert Camus and Fyodor Dostoevsky have explored similar themes of repetition and meaning, while psychologists have drawn on Nietzsche's ideas to develop therapies that emphasize acceptance and resilience. The eternal recurrence continues to provoke reflection and debate, challenging us to live more intentionally and authentically. Practical applications of amor fati. The philosophy of amor fati has practical applications in our daily lives. By embracing the idea of loving our fate, we can develop a more resilient and affirmative attitude toward life's challenges. This mindset can help us navigate difficult situations with greater ease and find meaning in even the most painful experiences. Whether in personal relationships, professional endeavors, or creative pursuits, Amor Fati offers a powerful framework for living a more fulfilling and authentic life. The power of affirmation. Nietzsche's concepts of eternal recurrence and Amor Fati challenge us to embrace life in its entirety with all its joys and sorrows. By affirming every moment and loving our fate, we can transform suffering into a source of strength and creativity. These ideas offer a powerful antidote to nihilism and despair, providing a path to resilience, meaning, and greatness. As we explore the remaining segments of this topic, we will see how Nietzsche's philosophy of affirmation intersects with his broader vision of human potential. Introduction to the Will to Power. The will to power is one of Nietzsche's most central and controversial ideas. It refers to the fundamental drive within all living beings to assert themselves, grow, and overcome obstacles. Nietzsche saw the will to power as the underlying force behind human behavior, shaping everything from individual ambitions to cultural and societal structures. This concept challenges traditional notions of motivation, suggesting that the desire for power, not survival or pleasure, is a primary force driving human action. The will to power as a life force. Nietzsche believed that the will to power is not limited to humans, but is a universal life force present in all living beings. It manifests as the drive to grow, create, and dominate one's environment. In humans, this force takes on more complex forms, such as the pursuit of knowledge, artistic expression, and self-mastery. Nietzsche saw the will to power as the essence of life itself, a dynamic and creative energy that propels individuals and societies forward. The role of suffering in the will to power. Suffering plays a crucial role in Nietzsche's concept of the will to power. He believed that suffering is not an obstacle to growth, but a necessary condition for it. Through struggle and adversity, individuals are forced to confront their limitations and push beyond them, harnessing their will to power to achieve greatness. Nietzsche saw suffering as a catalyst for self-overcoming, the process by which individuals transcend their current state and realize their full potential. Self-overcoming and the will to power. Self-overcoming is a key theme in Nietzsche's philosophy, closely tied to the will to power. It refers to the process of continually surpassing one's limitations and striving for higher levels of achievement and self-mastery. Nietzsche believed that this process is driven by the will to power, which compels individuals to seek out challenges and overcome them. Self-overcoming is not a one-time event, but an ongoing journey, requiring constant effort and resilience. The will to power in a historical context. Nietzsche's concept of the will to power can be seen as a response to the cultural and intellectual trends of his time. In the 19th century, the rise of industrialization, scientific rationalism, and democratic ideals led to a sense of disillusionment and nihilism. Nietzsche saw the will to power as a way to counteract this nihilism, providing a new foundation for human motivation and meaning. He believed that by embracing the will to power, individuals and societies could overcome the stagnation and mediocrity of modern life. The will to power and creativity. Nietzsche saw the will to power as the driving force behind creativity and artistic expression. He believed that great art and literature arise from the tension between the artist's inner drive and the external challenges they face. This struggle fuels the creative process, pushing artists to explore new ideas and forms of expression. Nietzsche's own works, written in the midst of physical and emotional suffering, exemplify the transformative power of the will to power in the creative process. The will to power in morality. Nietzsche's concept of the will to power also has profound implications for morality. He argued that traditional moral systems, particularly those rooted in religion, often suppress the will to power by promoting values like humility, meekness, and self-denial. Nietzsche saw this as a form of psychological repression, stifling human potential and creativity. In contrast, he advocated for a morality that celebrates strength, ambition, and self-affirmation, aligning with the natural drive of the will to power. Critiques and misinterpretations of the will to power. The will to power has been subject to numerous critiques and misinterpretations. Some have accused Nietzsche of promoting a form of social Darwinism or justifying domination and exploitation. Others have seen the will to power as a call for individualism at the expense of communal values. Nietzsche himself rejected these interpretations, emphasizing that the will to power is not about brute force or selfishness, but about self-mastery, creativity, and the pursuit of excellence. The will to power in modern thought. Nietzsche's concept of the will to power has influenced a wide range of thinkers and disciplines, from psychology and philosophy to literature and political theory. Psychologists like Alfred Adler have drawn on Nietzsche's ideas to develop theories of motivation and self-actualization. Philosophers like Michel Foucault have explored the role of power in shaping social and cultural norms. The will to power continues to provoke reflection and debate, challenging us to rethink our assumptions about human motivation and potential. The transformative power of the will to power. Nietzsche's concept of the will to power offers a powerful framework for understanding human motivation and the pursuit of greatness. By embracing the will to power, individuals can transform suffering into a source of strength and creativity, pushing beyond their limitations to achieve their full potential. This philosophy challenges us to rethink our relationship with adversity, seeing it not as an obstacle but as an opportunity for growth and self-overcoming. As we explore the remaining segments of this topic, we will see how Nietzsche's ideas about the will to power intersect with his broader vision of human potential. Nietzsche's impact on philosophy. Nietzsche's influence on modern philosophy is profound and far-reaching. His critique of traditional morality, his concept of the will to power, and his emphasis on individualism and self-overcoming have shaped the work of many 20th and 21st century philosophers. Thinkers such as Martin Heidegger, Michel Foucault, and Jacques Derrida have drawn on Nietzsche's ideas to challenge established norms and explore new ways of understanding human existence. Nietzsche's emphasis on perspectivism, the idea that all knowledge is shaped by individual perspectives, has also had a significant impact on postmodern thought. Nietzsche and existentialism. Nietzsche is often regarded as a precursor to existentialism, a philosophical movement that emphasizes individual freedom, choice, and the search for meaning in an otherwise indifferent universe. Existentialist thinkers like Jean-Paul Sartre, Albert Camus, and Simone de Beauvoir have drawn on Nietzsche's ideas about the death of God, the will to power, and the importance of creating one's own values. Nietzsche's emphasis on self-creation and authenticity resonates deeply with existentialist themes. Nietzsche's influence on psychology. Nietzsche's ideas have also had a significant impact on psychology, particularly in the areas of motivation, resilience, and self-actualization. Psychologists like Alfred Adler and Carl Jung have drawn on Nietzsche's concept of the will to power to develop theories of human behavior and personal growth. Viktor Frankl, the founder of logotherapy, was deeply influenced by Nietzsche's emphasis on finding meaning in suffering. Nietzsche's work continues to inspire contemporary research on topics such as grit, resilience, and the psychology of excellence. Nietzsche and literature. Nietzsche's influence extends to literature, where his ideas have inspired countless writers and artists. Authors like Thomas Mann, Hermann Hesse, and Fyodor Dostoevsky have explored Nietzschean themes in their works, grappling with questions of morality, suffering, and the human condition. Nietzsche's poetic and aphoristic writing style has also influenced literary forms, encouraging writers to experiment with new ways of expressing complex ideas. His concept of the Übermensch has become a recurring motif in literature, symbolizing pursuit of greatness and self-transcendence. Nietzsche's impact on political thought. Nietzsche's ideas have had a complex and often controversial impact on political thought. While some have interpreted his concept of the will to power as a justification for authoritarianism or elitism, others have seen it as a call for individual freedom and self-determination. Nietzsche's critique of traditional morality and his emphasis on creating new values have influenced a wide range of political movements, from anarchism to libertarianism. His work continues to provoke debate about the role of power, morality, and individualism in society. Nietzsche and popular culture. Nietzsche's ideas have permeated popular culture, appearing in films, music, and even video games. His concept of the Übermensch has inspired characters in comic books and movies, such as Superman and Batman, who embody the ideals of strength, resilience, and self-mastery. Musicians like David Bowie and Marilyn Manson have drawn on Nietzsche's themes of individualism and rebellion in their work. Nietzsche's influence can also be seen in the self-help and personal development movements, where his ideas about self-overcoming and the will to power resonate with audiences seeking to achieve their full potential. Nietzsche's influence on art and aesthetics. Nietzsche's philosophy has had a significant impact on art and aesthetics, particularly his distinction between the Apollonian and Dionysian forces. The Apollonian represents order, rationality, and form, while the Dionysian embodies chaos, passion, and creativity. This duality has inspired artists to explore the tension between structure and spontaneity in their work. Nietzsche's emphasis on the transformative power of art and the role of the artist as a creator of new values continues to influence contemporary art and aesthetics. Nietzsche's legacy in education. Nietzsche's ideas have also influenced educational philosophy, particularly his emphasis on critical thinking, creativity, and self-overcoming. Educators have drawn on Nietzsche's work to develop approaches that encourage students to question established norms, think independently, and pursue their own paths to greatness. Nietzsche's critique of traditional education systems, which he saw as stifling individuality and creativity, continues to resonate in debates about educational reform. Nietzsche's influence on modern self-help. Nietzsche's philosophy has found a new audience in the modern self-help movement, where his ideas about resilience, self-mastery, and the will to power are often cited as sources of inspiration. Books and programs that encourage individuals to embrace challenges, take risks, and create their own values can be seen as modern iterations of Nietzsche's philosophy. His emphasis on finding meaning in suffering and transforming adversity into strength aligns with contemporary approaches to personal growth and development. Nietzsche's enduring relevance. Nietzsche's influence on modern thought is a testament to the enduring relevance of his ideas. His critique of traditional morality, his emphasis on individualism and self-overcoming, and his exploration of the will to power continue to inspire and challenge us. Whether in philosophy, psychology, literature, or popular culture, Nietzsche's work offers a powerful framework for understanding the human condition and the pursuit of greatness. As we explore the remaining segments of this topic, we will see how Nietzsche's ideas continue to shape our understanding of suffering, resilience, and human potential. Embracing suffering as a path to growth. Nietzsche's philosophy teaches us to reframe suffering as a necessary and meaningful part of life. Instead of avoiding or resenting adversity, we can embrace it as an opportunity for growth. This mindset shift allows us to approach challenges with resilience and determination, knowing that they can help us develop strength, wisdom, and creativity. Practical steps include journaling about difficult experiences, seeking lessons in setbacks, and practicing gratitude for the growth that comes from struggle. Cultivating a more fatty, loving your fate. The concept of a more fatty encourages us to accept and even love everything that happens in our lives, including the painful and difficult moments. To apply this idea, we can practice radical acceptance, focusing on what we can control and letting go of what we cannot. This might involve mindfulness practices, affirmations, or simply reminding ourselves that every experience, good or bad, shapes who we are. By loving our fate, we can find peace and purpose in the face of adversity. Harnessing the will to power. Nietzsche's concept of the will to power can inspire us to pursue our goals with passion and determination. To harness this drive, we can set ambitious but achievable goals, break them down into manageable steps, and persistently work toward them. It's also important to embrace challenges as opportunities to test and strengthen our will, whether in our careers, relationships, or personal development. The will to power can motivate us to push beyond our limits and achieve greatness. Practicing self-overcoming. Self-overcoming is the process of continually surpassing our limitations and striving for higher levels of achievement. To practice this, we can identify areas where we feel stuck or complacent and set goals that push us out of our comfort zones. This might involve learning new skills, taking on challenging projects, or confronting fears. By embracing the process of self-overcoming, we can transform ourselves and realize our full potential. Creating your own values. Nietzsche's call to create our own values challenges us to question societal norms and define what truly matters to us. This process involves introspection, critical thinking, and the courage to live authentically. Practical steps include reflecting on your core beliefs, setting personal boundaries, and making choices that align with your values, even when they go against the grain. By creating your own values, you can live a more meaningful and fulfilling life. Finding meaning in suffering. Nietzsche's philosophy encourages us to find meaning in our suffering, transforming pain into purpose. This might involve using your experiences to help others, pursuing creative outlets, or dedicating yourself to a cause greater than yourself. For example, someone who has overcome illness might become an advocate for health awareness, while someone who has experienced loss might channel their grief into art or community service. By finding meaning in suffering, we can turn adversity into a source of strength and inspiration, embracing the eternal recurrence. The thought experiment of eternal recurrence challenges us to live in such a way that we would willingly relive every moment of our lives. To apply this idea, we can reflect on our daily choices and ask ourselves whether we would be content to repeat them infinitely. This practice encourages us to live intentionally, making decisions that align with our values and aspirations. By embracing the eternal recurrence, we can cultivate a sense of purpose and live more authentically. Building resilience through struggle. Nietzsche's emphasis on the transformative power of struggle can help us build resilience in the face of adversity. Practical strategies include developing a growth mindset, seeking support from others, and practicing self-care. It's also important to view setbacks as opportunities for learning and growth, rather than as failures. By embracing struggle as a necessary part of life, we can develop the resilience needed to overcome challenges and achieve our goals. Applying Nietzsche's ideas in relationships. Nietzsche's philosophy can also be applied to our relationships, encouraging us to seek connections that foster growth and authenticity. This might involve surrounding ourselves with people who challenge and inspire us, rather than those who reinforce complacency or negativity. It also means being honest and vulnerable in our relationships, embracing both the joys and struggles that come with deep connections. By applying Nietzsche's ideas, we can build relationships that support our journey toward greatness. Living a Nietzschean life. Nietzsche's philosophy offers a powerful framework for living a life of resilience, creativity, and purpose. By embracing suffering, cultivating a more fatty, harnessing the will to power, and practicing self-overcoming, we can transform adversity into opportunities for growth and greatness. These principles can guide us in our personal and professional lives, helping us navigate challenges with courage and determination. As we explore the final segment of this topic, we will see how Nietzsche's ideas culminate in a vision of human potential that continues to inspire and challenge us. Nietzsche's vision of suffering and greatness. Nietzsche's philosophy offers a radical and transformative perspective on suffering. Rather than viewing suffering as a curse or a flaw in existence, Nietzsche saw it as a necessary and meaningful part of life. He believed that suffering is a crucible in which greatness is forged, pushing individuals to confront their limitations, question their values, and ultimately transcend them. This vision challenges us to embrace adversity as an opportunity for growth and self-overcoming. The enduring relevance of Nietzsche's ideas. More than a century after his death, Nietzsche's ideas continue to resonate with people across the globe. His concepts of a more fatty, the will to power, and the Übermensch have inspired countless individuals to confront their struggles with courage and resilience. In a world that often seeks to avoid or pathologize suffering, Nietzsche's philosophy offers a powerful alternative, a way to transform pain into purpose and adversity into strength. Nietzsche's influence on modern resilience. Nietzsche's emphasis on resilience and self-overcoming has found new relevance in the modern self-help and personal development movements. His ideas align with contemporary research on grit, growth mindset, and post-traumatic growth, which emphasize the transformative power of struggle. By embracing Nietzsche's philosophy, individuals can develop the resilience needed to navigate life's challenges and achieve their full potential. The role of suffering in collective growth. Nietzsche's philosophy is not limited to individual growth. It also has implications for collective progress. Societies, like individuals, can use suffering as a catalyst for transformation. Historical examples, such as the civil rights movement or the rebuilding of nations after war, demonstrate how collective suffering can lead to profound social change. Nietzsche's ideas challenge us to see adversity not as a barrier, but as an opportunity for collective growth and renewal. Nietzsche's critique of modern culture. Nietzsche's critique of modern culture, its tendency toward mediocrity, conformity, and nihilism, remains strikingly relevant today. In an age of social media, consumerism, and instant gratification, his call to create our own values and pursue greatness is more urgent than ever. Nietzsche's philosophy encourages us to resist the pull of complacency and strive for excellence, both individually and collectively. The challenge of living a Nietzschean life. Living according to Nietzsche's philosophy is not easy. It requires us to confront our fears, embrace our struggles, and continually push beyond our limits. It demands that we question societal norms, create our own values, and live authentically. Yet, as Nietzsche himself demonstrated, the rewards of this journey are profound. A life of meaning, creativity, and greatness. Nietzsche's legacy in art and literature. Nietzsche's influence on art and literature continues to be felt today. His ideas have inspired countless writers, artists, and musicians to explore themes of suffering, resilience, and self-overcoming. From the existentialist novels of Camus and Sartre to the rebellious music of punk and metal, Nietzsche's philosophy has left an indelible mark on cultural expression. His work reminds us that art is not just a reflection of life, but a means of transforming it. Nietzsche's impact on philosophy and psychology. Nietzsche's ideas have profoundly shaped modern philosophy and psychology. His critique of traditional morality, his emphasis on the will to power, and his exploration of suffering have influenced thinkers from Heidegger to Foucault and from Jung to Frankl. In psychology, his ideas have contributed to the development of therapies that emphasize resilience, meaning-making, and personal growth. Nietzsche's legacy is a testament to the enduring power of his thought, the timelessness of Nietzsche's message. Nietzsche's philosophy is timeless because it speaks to the universal human experience of suffering and the desire for greatness. His ideas transcend cultural and historical boundaries, offering insights that are as relevant today as they were in his time. Whether we are grappling with personal challenges, societal issues, or existential questions, Nietzsche's philosophy provides a framework for understanding and transforming our struggles. Embracing Nietzsche's path to greatness. Nietzsche's philosophy invites us to embrace suffering as a path to greatness. By cultivating a more fatty, harnessing the will to power, and practicing self-overcoming, we can transform adversity into opportunities for growth and creativity. Nietzsche's legacy is a call to live authentically, pursue excellence, and create our own values in a world that often seeks to impose them upon us. As we reflect on his ideas, we are reminded that suffering is not an obstacle to greatness, but its very foundation.